So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the EU weighing more legal action in a clash over Brexit violation. So the EU are already taking legal action against the UK over some of the violations over the trade deal. It looks like they're mulling more legal action. So let's have a look at this. So the EU is considering launching more legal proceedings against the UK before the end of the month. A final decision on timing has not been taken and depends on the parliamentary progress of a bill, that's the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill, which will allow ministers to scrap parts of the protocol unilaterally. The committee stage of the bill is due to begin before passing on to the Lords. The Lords can try and delay it, but they can't stop it from being put onto the statute books. I know there's been some sort of discussion around it, people kind of debating it, but the simple fact is the Commons is supreme over the Lords. The EU restarted legal action last month when the bill was presented, which makes sense because this is a flagrant escalation of tensions between the government, the Tories and the EU. The new legislation would give British ministers, the power to unilaterally rewrite the bulk of the protocol, so they'll get rid of things like the checks and the ECJ. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said the bill was needed to fix problems with the protocol, which we know is simply not the case. None of the candidates competing to replace Johnson as leader of the party and Prime Minister have said they would stop the bill, and that's important because even those kind of moderate people in the party still knew that they had to play ball here and push this thing through. Despite signing the withdrawal agreement and the protocol in October 2019, it's not been that long. Less than 3 years, the UK has delayed applying many of the provisions and checks contained in the text in the last 2 years since they entered force. So you can tell the UK had no actual intention of applying the Northern Ireland Protocol because the infrastructure wasn't in place when the thing was agreed. That's why we had things like grace periods, but then Frost at the time just kept extending them. The EU has long refrained from taking legal action over these violations as the two sides tried for months to hammer out a compromise. The bloc has put forward a number of proposals, such as the flow of medicines between Britain and Northern Ireland and the volume of paperwork that businesses need to file when moving goods across the Irish Sea. So effectively, they would have allowed medicines from Great Britain that aren't regulated in the EU to go into Northern Ireland with no issues, and they promised to reduce the paperwork. It was a bit iffy because they said it would be only 3 bits of paper when it was actually like 6. So it was a bit weird from Sefcovic. I remember covering it, but still better than what we have now, a lot better. The British government says those ideas aren't enough, but yet instead of going back to the negotiating table to kind of come up with a compromise, they decide to scrap the whole thing. The EU has decided to take a gradual approach in its response to the protocol breaking legislation, which I don't necessarily agree with, but that could ultimately see parts of the trade deal scrapped. So there are different provisions of the TCA they can start suspending. They can trigger a trade dispute within a week, essentially a trade war within a week or a year, depends how they want to play it. The withdrawal agreement and the protocol were preconditions to the trade deal the UK and the EU agreed. So without the Northern Ireland Protocol, there would be no trade and cooperation agreement, which is important to remember here. One helped us get the other. And the simple fact is without the TCA, we'll be in a very precarious position because we are already in breach of WTO rules. We'd be even more in breach of WTO rules. So I don't know what further kind of things the EU are looking at when it comes to legal action. Most of it's to do with the grace periods and a couple other things, but we'll see what they come out with. Hopefully at the end of the month they'll come out with a statement and I can cover it. But until then, it definitely looks like the EU are more willing to play hardball, especially when you've got certain German ministers kind of saying what the UK is doing is wrong, and they're saying it publicly rather than privately, which is more kind of which was more of Angela Merkel's MO, which is deal things in-house rather than make things spats massively public. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.